Hello and welcome to today's webinar, How the Marriage of Robotics, Documents, and Process Can Digitally Transform Your Business. I'm Teresa Resick, Director of Online Events here at AIIM, and AIIM is your host and producer of today's event. And with me today are Atla Shecklin from AIIM and Ryan Basler from Kofax. And Kofax is the underwriter of today's webinar, and we thank them for their support. And thank you for taking the time to join us today. As we get started, just want to offer a few pointers for viewing today's webinar. By joining live, you can customize your own viewing experience, so feel free to open, close, or resize the different windows. And across the bottom of your screen is a list of all of the widgets that are available to you. Group chat is available. Open this by clicking on the icons that's along the bottom. And with group chat, you'll be able to text chat with each other, but also with a few of us from here at AIIM. Do ask questions of the speakers throughout our time today using the Q&A feature. We will hold them until the end, where hopefully we'll have about 5 minutes to answer them. But you can also use this feature to ask for any technical assistance. You can download a PDF of the presentation at any time. Just look to the resources list that's to the right of the slide area. There's also a couple other links in there to help you learn more about today's topic. So just click in there at any time, and that resource will open in a new browser tab. And you can save it and read it after the webinar. And at the end of the webinar, a brief survey will open in your browser, and it's also in the widgets below the slide area. And I'd greatly appreciate it if you would take a few moments to offer your feedback and to suggest other topics for us to cover. This webinar is being recorded, and it will be posted to AIIM.org's Resources Webinars page in just a few days. Now to introduce the speakers we have with us today. Atla Shecklin is a Senior Vice President at AIIM, and he is a technologist, educator, and innovator. His interest in the future of information management with social, mobile, cloud, and big data has made him a frequent keynote and workshop facilitator at events across the world. Atla is also the architect behind AIIM's training program with close to 30,000 students. He has a Master's of Science degree from the Norwegian School of Economics and returned to Europe after 9 years in the U.S. And Ryan Basler is the Director of Product Marketing at Kofax, responsible for the Cognitive Document Automation product family. Ryan has a BSEE, an MBA, and over 20 years of experience marketing technology products, including over 10 years in the document capture market, 6 of those years with Kofax. So right now, I am going to turn things over to Atla Shecklin to begin today's discussion. Atla?
Thank you, Teresa. So I will, over the next 10 minutes or so, address the need to marry robots, processes, and documents, and then hand over to Ryan to give you practical examples and use cases. But let's start by addressing the need for digital transformation and what this means for you just briefly. Because change is happening slower than what we expect, but faster than what we're ready for. The picture you see here is actually from Norway a few years ago, taken by a friend of mine, when several drivers were surprised by black ice. And think about it. We know winter is coming after the fall and the summer, but many of us are slow preparing for this. And in Norway, like many other places where you have proper winters, it means they have to change to winter tires, more optimal for slick roads and snow. But we don't expect winter to arrive tomorrow. It will be later. And therefore, we often continue like before, just delaying things and get in trouble when change happens. And it sometimes feels the same for improving our business. We see the need to change, but we're not fast enough for making a change, which sometimes gets us in trouble. So how to be more proactive, how to take action today and not tomorrow. But let me start by also a little bit addressing then the digital transformation. Is that hype or reality? We asked our members this question earlier this year, and the result is what you see on the screen. 81% said it was important or very important. It was a necessity to either better engage customers and it could be to improve business operation. But we didn't stop there. We also asked, what does that mean for you? And we gave them actually a number of options. We actually asked them to rate the importance on a scale from 1, most important, to 5, least important, the following 4 options. Leveraging analytics and machine learning, automating compliance and governance, digitizing core organizational processes, or modernizing the information toolkit. And the results show that improving business operation is the top priority for digital transformation. This could be to improve how you onboard customers, deliver services, and/or reducing the cost of business process. But what are then the challenges to achieve this? Let me share a few key challenges and then how to address them. So, number one, paper challenge. Paper is still part of many business processes. This picture actually shows the winner, or in fact the loser, of our messy desk competition a few years ago. We asked members to submit pictures of messy office desks within their organization, and this is the winner, or perhaps we should call the loser. It actually belongs, it's a real office, it belongs to the budget director of a city in the Midwest. And the guy on the picture is not the owner of the office, he just submitted it. That's a disclaimer we have to promise to share. And I have to say, this is not unique, even though that's a messy office, because AIIM research shows that 42% of organizations still use paper to anything that requires a signature, contracts, orders, booking forms, and so on. And this slows down the process, as you can imagine, to onboard new customers or staff. It also costs you money and create errors due to manual process, because every manual step introduces noise and errors. But also that 34% of organizations still today use paper to file and reference important business content. And this is, of course, more costly and risky than a more digital approach. And the reason I say it is because an electronic document can be secured a lot better now than a paper document. You can then actually better manage the rights to see and change the document, who have access, who don't have access, who can read only, who can change. And you also, of course, waste time and money accessing and managing the paper archives. And if you look at legal value, electronic originals or copies have usually the same legal value now as paper. And perhaps as a last two examples, when we looked at 2 years ago, 18 months ago, we checked with finance and accounting professionals, how much have they digitized and automated? And we found that on average, only 1 out of 3 have digitized or automated accounts payable, accounts receivable, procurement, these type of things. And if you take just AP automation or AP process, we found that average cost perceived by these people to process an invoice as paper was often found to be between $31 and $40 per invoice in a paper-based process when you included staffing cost, distribution cost, and so on. And our research seems to indicate that if you automate this, let's say you can get this down to $1 to $5 depending on the process. And just as an example, this means that a large organization with 10,000 invoices per month is actually wasting $3.6 million per year, even though, remember, that's a soft savings and you need to make changes to make that into real savings, at least in most of the cases. And as a last example, in HR, we found that 2 out of 3 organizations still manage HR records as paper. This again creates risks since paper is less secure, in our opinion, than electronic documents, but also wastes time and money managing their filing cabinets. So in the way we look at it based on our research is that paper is often then killing customer service, making business operations slow and expensive, and creating compliance risk. But people are starting to realize this is not sustainable for the future. And it's not mentioned on the slide there, but actually 68% of people in our business or businesses think that business at the speed of paper will be unacceptable in just a few years' time. And 46% consider that the biggest single productivity improvement for most of their business processes is to remove the paper. But let me share also another challenge with you. And I know this might be a little bit difficult to read, but let me walk you through this. And that's actually the need for multi- and omni-channel communication. So this research actually shows how different generations, that's what you see on top, have different preferences. Young professional staff don't want to go to a branch for banking or an insurance agent. They want to do this online. And they also want instant gratification. While Generation X is happy to use email, while Generation Y and Z prefer real-time communication like chat and video. And of course, this is what's changing a lot of industries, disrupting industries, and also why a lot of organizations like banks are actually closing down branches and actually more investing in digital transformation to better serve click-to-brick or digital customers. But it's also about the need for omni-channel communication. Let me just give you a quick personal example. Last year, I tried to change my cable provider to get better internet. I heard my neighbors have already signed up for the competitor what I was using in Norway. And they said that if you have a service technician coming in 3 days' time, and you should check if you want to add on to that, if they can also do it at your place. So I tried to call them and was told when I got a message that, hey, we're very busy now, but your call is important to us, and expected waiting time for sales department was around 30 minutes. And and I was hope, is there a service there so they can call me back? No, I have to be online for 30 minutes on the wait call to get through. I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. So I went to the website to decide, hey, can I actually have chat with somebody online to get the real answer? What type of service will I get? What's the price? But on the website, it was only a form. And when I filled in the form, it says, we will get back to you within 5 working days. So, that's not good. So then I opened my complaining software, also known as Twitter, and found, do they have a Twitter address? Tweeted to both of them. And within an hour, I got the response saying, thank you, sorry for your trouble. Try Facebook. They usually have a good service for this. So I would say at that time, I just gave up. I'm not doing this. And of course, that means that we basically have used different communication channels depending on the situation. At our office, we may prefer to use our computer or phone to access a service, while we may prefer to use our phone while traveling. And if something is wrong or urgent, we want real-time communication, while we on other times are happy to wait for response. And we need to support this if we're all going to stay relevant and get new customers and employees, especially, as you see on the slide, the new generation coming into the workflows or becoming customers and that now have a paycheck to spend. And as the last example I want to give you is basically the challenge of data and content silos, or all the new apps that we get in an organization. So this chart shows the number of systems used by an average organization. And while many of you have been working perhaps on creating enterprise systems with a central repository, the results have actually been the opposite. The number, just as an example, the number of content management systems within an average organization have actually grown by 30% in the last 5 years. And it gets worse. When we ask how much business critical content is living outside the content management system, this is also growing. Currently, 54% of business critical content reside outside the content management system. And if you look at where this is going, research by A.T. Kearney actually claims that it's actually going to grow the number of applications that people use. They researched CIOs and they said, well, what do you expect? And then most of them are saying, no, we're going to have to deal with more in the future. Because staff needs to access in today multiple systems to do their job, find information about the customer, staff, or vendors. And the process might sometimes then start with an email or a form, but then they might have to open one or more line of business application to register it, access other repositories to find supporting documents, and perhaps then upload this to another system to be able to share it with colleagues and customers. So how do we address this problem to improve our business process? Let me share a way to think about this. And that might be complex here on the slide, but let me share the way of thinking here, which is also why we had this title of this webinar. Because we think we actually need to look at 3 different technologies and combine them. The first one is robotic process automation to automate repetitive data-centric tasks. And this will take data from different applications and automate steps. There's no need for users to jump in and out of multiple screens to do their job, like I was referring to on the previous slide. The second one is cognitive document automation to improve information visibility by better capturing unstructured information in documents and email. And by combining robotics process automation and cognitive document automation to basically then process both structured and unstructured information from 2 different communication channels. And that way, supporting both omni and multi-channel communication. And the third component is business process automation to automate and orchestrate customer journeys. And by combining robotics process automation and business process automation, this will increase operational efficiency, and combining cognitive document automation and business process automation will enhance customer engagement. And this might sound complex, but I'll actually hand over now to Ryan to explain this in a little bit more detail. Over to you, Ryan.
All right, thank you, Atla. Good stuff. So, as Atla was talking about, we have challenges, obviously, in organizations, whether it's document-related or whether it's data-related, trapped in various systems where employees have to spend time logging in and out, copying and pasting, aggregating, and doing all this stuff manually all day long. So there has to be a better way. And that's really why RPA is taking off the way it is. It's not just the solving those problems with information silos and content silos, but it's evolving, by the way, very quickly evolving, to be much more than just automating, data-centric tasks to something much, much more. RPA is becoming really an essential component of a larger initiative around intelligent process automation or cognitive process automation. And these new components that have kind of come into play in terms of an overall RPA initiative revolve around document capture, around BPM process, orchestrating processes together between humans and robots, and then also doing process discovery and analytics to optimize those processes. So it's not just about getting the data anymore. RPA is quickly evolving to encompass document capture, process, and analytics. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So today, without any kind of automation, what organizations struggle with is all the different channels that their customers use to engage with the business. This could be anywhere from just mail to fax to email and more common mobile devices. Submitting those documents and then having to have people in the organization process all those documents. So what is the document? What data on the document do I need? What system do I have to enter that data into? And then even on the electronic data side, it's not just documents, it's kind of where RPA began, which is the electronic data that's trapped in all these different systems. It could be internal systems, legacy systems, green screens, AS400s, Citrix systems, and even outside systems like websites. All sorts of information is needed in business processes that come from outside websites. So how do we get the combination of documents into the organization that we need, the data that we need, and to serve the downstream business processes and systems that need it? Well, there's a way to automate all this, and you do this through document capture, which for many AIM members is nothing new, but it's very interesting to see what's happened in the RPA market. The RPA market has really kind of injected new life into document capture and created a need for document capture even for such basic needs as invoices. For those who have been in the industry for a while, invoice capture is definitely a common use case, but in an RPA context, it almost seems brand new to someone who's looking at it from an RPA perspective. So coming in and using robots to not just automate document capture and extraction, but also automate the collection of electronic data is really what the new RPA is all about. And not just stopping there, but taking that data and delivering it in a high-quality manner quickly into the systems and processes that need it, even if there are no APIs available, even if the integration seems difficult. Robots can now automatically figure out how to sew together two systems and allow that data to seamlessly come across. And you see a picture there of the lady and the robot. That is a great picture of really where RPA is going. It's not just robots operating on their own, because you have business process exceptions. You have business rules that need to run either automatically or through a human review step. You have human approvals that have to occur. You might have an exception case that gets kicked off by an underwriter, for example, in a mortgage application. Whatever the case may be, you always have this good hand-in-hand work between the human and the robot. So if you're looking at an RPA solution, make sure that it's looking at the bigger picture, not just what the robot can do. So we've seen at Kofax, we have a rich heritage in document capture and also are a leader in robotic process automation. And we see actual use cases from both our customers and prospects that we're dealing with that I wanted to share with you. So these are actual use cases that we've documented. I'm not going to go through all of these for time constraints, but I'll just focus on this first one. So invoice management's a great example of how robotics and documents can work together. For example, instead of the kind of traditional wait for the invoice to come in through the door and then scan it or capture it or get the PDF from the email attachment, why not reach out with a robot using RPA to an invoice portal, grab the electronic invoice, and bring it in? You can completely avoid the document capture step completely, and that's what companies are doing. They're using robots to go out to the portal, grab the invoice, bring it in, and then the capture technology can then classify the document automatically, extract the appropriate header, footer, line item information, and then send it to a downstream ERP system where, guess what, RPA comes back in. RPA comes back in to then provide a seamless integration between the document capture system and the ERP system. So looking at banking and financial services, a great example here would be new customer onboarding. In this particular use case, we have a mobile device that's capturing an ID and then verifying that that ID is in fact correct and not fraudulent. Then the application form itself is captured and extracted automatically. Of course, there's exceptions, and that's where humans come in to process those exceptions. And then all the data gets sent to a downstream system. And then finally, for insurance, new customer applications here is a good example. In this case, you would have the insurance application that is being processed through a typical document capture technology, which would classify what kind of a document it is and then extract information from the application. And then, as a part of the business process, you have to go out and run a credit check on this person. So the RPA component would then reach out to the various credit agencies automatically to their websites, automatically log in, enter the information, get the credit score back, and then submit that into the process. So you can see how document capture and RPA work very, very well together with, of course, a process orchestrating all of it. So I would be remiss without mentioning artificial intelligence. That's another hot topic these days. What's interesting is the best document capture technologies out there, cognitive document automation technologies, will use artificial intelligence to do what? Specifically to machine learn, whether that's in a design time to make it very easy to train the system up front. And then once it's running in production, as new documents come in or variations of documents are processed, you can have that machine learning kick in and automatically update the master project without any human intervention. I mean, we would recommend that a human would look at it once in a while, make sure it looks good, and process any kind of conflicts that might occur. But overall, it's all about learning in document automation, and that's what is cognitive about it. It provides the learning. On the robotics side, there's also AI used in the robotics side, which is around intelligent screen automation. So you might have a Citrix screen, for example, where there aren't objects that the software can grab onto. All it sees is just pixels. Well, AI is used to grab the various data off of that screen, even if the object doesn't exist. So that's a good example of how AI is used in RPA. So what is the benefit of all this? Well, I know Atle mentioned this a lot, but just to reiterate, it's all about engaging customers more effectively. The example of the cable company is just wow. That was humorous because if you're running your business like that, good luck keeping your customers, right? So you want to engage them more effectively. You want to be able to do more with less people, reduce cost, make sure the data is accurate. And it's also not just about data accuracy. I know we can talk a lot about that, but it's about user productivity. So what happens with the exceptions? How are those handled? Is there a nice, efficient user interface that can handle those exceptions and work with the robot side by side? So recommendations here going forward, and then we'll wrap it up and have a few questions. We would recommend this is a lot to bite off. It was a very quick webinar, so it's more of an introduction for you to see how these technologies play together between robotics and process and documents. But look at your business, identify those high priorities, areas where there's just massive pain points that you need to address, and then focus on, is it a task that you need to automate? Is it a broader business process that you need to streamline, or is it really a document-specific issue? The poor guy in his office with the stacks of paper, is that you? I hope not. And if it is, we're here to help. So the third bullet there, just make sure to not bite off too much, right? Achieve a quick win. Be able to automate one little portion of your business and then expand from there. And ideally, you would want to have a single platform that brings together these technologies we've talked about to handle the process, the robotics, the documents, the analytics, and even e-signatures. So we didn't talk much about that, but Atla mentioned it, that a lot of times paper is still around because of signatures. Well, you can automate that aspect as well. So next steps, little plug for Kofax here. We're the only vendor who does provide all of these capabilities we talked about in a single unified platform offering, bringing together robotics, documents, and process to help you digitally transform your business. And we have a promotion right now that I wanted to make sure to mention, that if you buy a robot from Kofax, you'll get OCR for free. Now, there's a lot of details there in terms of what that means, but it really exposes you to all of the document automation that will help you for any kind of document-intensive processes. So go ahead and contact Kofax Sales or a reseller to learn more. You can also go up on the website. There's a banner up there. You can click on that and read all about it. So with that, I'll open it up the last few minutes for questions.
Thank you. We've just been listening to Ryan Basler of Kofax, and before that we were listening to Atla Shecklin of AIIM. And just one thing I just wanted to mention here, when Ryan was mentioning the offer that Kofax has, the link in the resources is this link that's you see on the screen right now for the Buy a Robot, Get the OCR free. So if you do click on that link in the resources, it will take you to that web page he was mentioning. Also, if you download a PDF of the slide deck, you'll be able to have this link in here as well. So I do have a few questions, a couple of questions that are coming in. I'll do our best to get to as many of these as we can, but I also realize that we are short on time with this. So Ryan, let me start with this first question of you, and then feel free to join in if you have any additional thoughts to share in there. But someone's asking about, how do they identify their requirements? What is a way to get started with this? And so, Ryan, let me go ahead and offer that out to you.
Yeah, sure. So what I would do is I would do a kind of a process discovery or a process analysis and look at what steps of your process are really causing the most pain. Maybe it's customer engagement that's the pain point, to the cable company example. Maybe it's the fact that you're taking too long to get through a particular onboarding step or a claim step or whatever the case may be. So make sure you pinpoint that and then identify, is that a task you have to automate, is that a process, or is that a document-specific issue, and then that will help you understand what products are available to help you attack that need.
Thank you. Ryan, another quick question in here. Someone's asking if is Kofax ISO certified?
Yeah, so that's a very specific company-by-company question that is all about your business processes. So what I would encourage you to do is, as you look at your processes, understand if there are ISO certifications in place. Make sure you understand those so that you can then drill down into the steps of the process that might need improvement. So again, it's very specific to each company. So your company is going to be very different than Kofax's.
Okay. I know that I just want to mention an additional resource that you can avail yourself to. AIIM offers live instructor-led training as well as online self-paced classes, and you can immerse yourself with deep dives, quick study type of offerings. There's a wide variety of training options we have on our site. And we can even arrange for a trainer to come to your place of business and provide custom perspective of our instructor-led programs. So all of that information can be found at aim.org/training, and I encourage you to check that out and learn a little bit more about the training that we offer. we did bill this as being a 30-minute webinar. I'm impressed that we are able to keep this close to a 30-minute webinar. And just remind everybody to download the resources. I realize this was a very high-level overview. Do reach out for the questions that we couldn't get to. I know the folks at Kofax will get back with you with answers to that. But do reach out to Kofax or your Kofax reseller, as Ryan mentioned. Just also the reminder, download the resources, take the survey for the link that's at the bottom of your screen. Very much want to thank our underwriter, Kofax. Without the support from our solution providers, we wouldn't be able to bring you these free educational programs like the webinar series. So thank you so much. And just as we bring this webinar to a close, I want to ask each of our speakers for a closing thought or a key takeaway. And I'm going to begin first with Atle Shacklin from AIIM. Your closing thoughts today.
I think that if you look at all the changes in the industry, all disruption happening, is to push things forward, aim for progress over perfection. And if you're struggling making the business case, talk to solution providers like Kofax and get them to help you to see, is there a good ROI, good business case here for doing things differently? And if you already have a business case in place and you need to identify requirements, do like Ryan said, or perhaps just focus on describing your business as it is today, and then get solution providers like Kofax to recommend, hey, here's how I would change this and the benefits linked to it. So leverage the technology providers in the industry to actually help you transform your business instead of trying to analyze it all yourself by yourself.
Thank you, Atle. And Ryan Basler from Kofax, your closing thoughts today.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. As I'm going through some of the questions here, I think there's kind of a general question that's emerging that maybe I should address. You know, what makes Kofax different than, say, a lot of the other RPA providers out there, right? And I would say that Kofax brings together these technologies. That's really the point of the webinar, was to tell you that there's three key components: robotics, process, and documents, all coming together. And you know, a lot of the RPA providers out there are still at kind of RPA 1.0 in the sense that they're just doing the task automation with robots. They're realizing the need for document automation. They're going out and partnering with more traditional capture vendors. But Kofax really does bring together everything under one roof, which makes things a lot easier for everyone. So that's really how I'd like to conclude. Feel free to reach out to us. We would love to help you.
Thank you. And so that is all we have time for today. Thank you, everybody, for your time and attention. Thank you to our speakers, and certainly thanks to Kofax for everyone. This is Teresa Resick from AIIM, and we'll see you on our next webinar. And have a good afternoon.